What is up? Welcome back to Tomahawk'd. I am your host, Rob Fox. As always, I'm joined by Dan Holloway. We're on the main set today because there's chairs missing off of our normal set.
Yeah.
You had a lady in the studio, so she needed a comfortable chair.
Yeah. Well, we were going to record in here because Ross is gone and shit. And there's a but he couldn't function on his own.
Yeah, basically.
So,
Yeah.
I understand, but nothing to complain about. It's been a good couple of weeks for Braves baseball.
I titled this episode "The Best Team in Baseball" or "The Best Record in Baseball." Whatever, doesn't matter. The Braves currently now, as of yesterday, I guess you could say, for when this show airs, Thursday, June 29th, the Braves are tied with the Rays for the best record in Major League Baseball by win percentage, because they actually have different records.
Yeah.
I think the Rays played like 2 more games, but they have the same. It's whatever. The win percentage is the same.
It's pretty impressive considering, the Braves didn't get out to a bad start this year like they did last year. I think they only won like 23 games before June last year or something like that.
Oh, they've been getting off to horrible starts with the exception of the COVID year. Where we were good the whole time, basically. Yeah. 2019 got off to a slow start. I believe the Phillies absolutely butt-fucked us in that first series, if you remember. Mm-hmm. And then 21, we obviously started real slow, and then had the big... we just treaded water, and then Acuna went down, and then Anthopoulos made the trades, and then last year, famously, a horrible 2 months, followed up by a June that was almost as good as this June, which is insane to say.
Yeah.
Like, remember last year, we were just blowing the month of June, like, filleting it. Just like, man, I can't believe how fucking good the Braves are playing. This is the best month I've ever fucking seen. They topped last June with this June.
Close. If we win tomorrow, well, I guess technically we have, because we have one less loss.
And because a game got postponed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it'll be one less game, but yeah, it's pretty impressive.
I mean, it's been goddamn insane. 20. To give you perspective, we haven't even said the record yet. The Atlanta Braves are 20-4 in the month of June. They've lost 4 games in the last fucking month, and they've played some. Like, this is the weak part of their schedule, no doubt about it. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, they've just only played amazing teams, but they actually, like, the teams they played. There's some decent shit in there. Were the Diamondbacks in June? Was that the very beginning of June, I believe?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Okay, so the Diamondbacks, a legitimate team. I believe they're in first place right now.
Yep.
Then we caught, look, the Mets suck, although we had to come back from 3 runs down to win all those games. Tigers suck, Nats suck. Rockies are the worst fucking team I've ever seen. Beating the Phillies, legit. In a series, or actually, well, we did win the series, but 1 game was postponed. But we won 2 games, so that series is won. And then taking 2 or 3 from the Reds, we're the hottest fucking team in baseball. They were a 12-game win streak by the time it was over, and then we just swept, albeit not a very good one, another first place team in the Twins. So I mean, there's I'll say 1, 2, 3, 4 decent to good teams that we played in the month. It wasn't like it was all nobodies, although the middle was pretty squishy.
Yeah, I mean, when the Phillies, when we went to Philadelphia, they were 13-2 in their last 15 games, I believe, and we spanked their ass pretty easily. And then Cincinnati, the hottest team in baseball, that first game, that was a great game, by the way.
Yes, that might have been the game of the year for all of baseball.
Definitely could have won it, but we won 2 out of 3 there, and then the Twins were on a pretty good clip as well, and we just smashed their dickholes in it also.
And by the way, that Cincinnati series, all 3 games, playoff environment.
Yeah, it was nice.
Like, it was, I mean, the credit to those Reds fans they're excited because they finally have something to cheer about again. Although their 2020 team was pretty good. It's just that they weren't allowed to go to the games. Because we played them in the playoffs, if you remember. Had to beat Trevor Bauer and Luis Castillo on back-to-back days, which is a fucking nightmare.
But all this has happened, this crazy June has happened with so the Braves in that 20-4, I don't know if it was Bauman or somebody else posted about it yesterday. In that 20-4 stretch, they didn't use one backup infielder the entire time. So the starting 4 infielders were out there every single day.
Yeah.
Kyle Wright, who won 21 games last year, not there. Max Fried, one of the best pitchers in baseball, also not there. So, yeah, it's a squishy part of the schedule, but you play the teams they put in front of you, and when you dominate like that, even with all the injuries, you can't really complain about that.
I mean, if this team had gone 24 games, if this team had gone 15-9 over that stretch, we would have rationalized it and been okay considering the pieces we're missing. Instead, they ripped off a just goddamn insane clip. And now, it's the offense, really, right? I mean, it's more than anything. Like, this lineup, I don't know what to keep saying about it. What's just been your favorite part of watching this stretch, I guess? I just kind of want to get your opinion as a fan more than anything else.
I guess the thing that I like the most, the things that I've enjoyed the most is we've always known that Ronald Acuna is a great player, but he's taken whatever the next step is now. He's probably about 3 weeks. Well, I guess the All-Star game's coming up. Probably about a month away from going over his career WAR total. Or, I'm sorry, his highest WAR season. So he's probably looking at like a 10 to 11 WAR right now, which is about as good as a season you can have. I still think he's a very streaky home run hitter, but he doesn't really try that much to hit home runs. So he's got an outside shot at 40-40 still. So I've enjoyed watching him.
He is just a hair under being on pace for 40. If he hits a home run Friday, which I think would be our 80th or 81st game, he would be technically literally on pace for 40-40. Well, he's going to hit fucking 40 stolen bases before the All-Star break, maybe.
He may.
He's in the 30s already, I think.
Yeah, let's see. He's got 36, so he'll he'll be there pretty soon.
He's there.
I think he's on pace for 70 steals.
Yeah.
Or 68 steals or something like that. I don't know. I saw it the other day. And the more of all the things that he's doing right now that are impressive, the most impressive is the strikeouts. 95. He's on pace for 95 strikeouts and 654 at-bats this year. You don't see that from a guy. There's only a couple of dudes in modern history that you've seen something like that for, with 200-plus hits, 35 or more home runs, 100 RBI, and strikeouts under 100. You're talking about Miguel Cabrera, Albert Pujols. There aren't a whole lot of people that have ever done that, to be honest. You saw it a little bit from Ken Griffey Jr. back in the day and Barry Bonds, but
maybe Trout. I don't know what Trout's strikeout situation is.
He's a 120 to 140 guy typically. But you haven't seen something like that, and to be honest, it all looks so effortless from him. And then I see a mini version of him in Michael Harris, who's gotten hot again finally. Right?
Yeah.
I don't think he was ever not hot. I just think he was out of rhythm and
that's the perfect way to put it. I think he never got
back
settled.
Injury. Is not the best thing for a swing.
No. But, and I think they told him, they were like, who I forget who they said this about. It was a different player from a while back, but they were essentially like, he could hit 0 and he'd be starting every day. And it's the same with Harris, right? Because the defense is just that good. I actually think it was La Russa said that about Yadier Molina. Is there he could be hitting 0 and he would be in the lineup every day.
That's probably right. Yeah. Back then, anyways. But he's so Harris obviously had a rough start. Didn't play much in April at all. I think he only played 7 games, maybe something like that. 6 or 7 games.
He got hurt really quickly.
Yeah. He played a little bit in May. Was in and out of the lineup a little bit. Got a lot of at bats. Struggled quite a bit, but that was essentially like a second spring training for him. And then in June so far, which is almost over now, OPS is over 1,000. He's hitting 378, on base percentage near 400, 5 home runs. He's driving the ball.
Mm-hmm. The only knock you can possibly put on him is he again not walking.
He doesn't walk, and he swings at a lot of sliders and sweepers low and in that are just obviously not going to be strikes. That's the gap. So if you're trying to get him out, you have to throw that pitch, and you have to throw a high fastball on the inside part of the plate, not like center in, basically throw a fastball up and out of the zone. That's how you get him out. And if you miss, then you're fucked because he's going to hit that ball 450 feet. He's got 2 450-foot home runs this year.
Sneaky power. He crushed that one over the chop house the other day. And by the way, I guess I can live with this version of him at 22 years old.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that's what I mean when I say he's like a little Acuna, because in Acuna's age 22 season, well, he was hurt most of his age 22 season.
That was at the World Series season?
That was the COVID year.
Oh, okay.
But his age 21 season, 41 home runs, 101 RBI, 280, a 5.5 wins above replacement for Ronald Acuna in his 22 season. And if you remove the injury part from Harris this year, he would probably be on like a 2 at a 3 already, right? He had a 5.3 last year in his rookie season in 115 games,
right?
Which almost matched Acuna's year in the same age. So, he's way ahead of schedule. They didn't expect this dude to be in the big leagues until he was 23 or 24, and now he's 22 in his second year. The Braves are maybe he's going to keep developing this year, but once Michael Harris upgrades his approach at the plate a little bit and fixes that hole and the low inside part of his swing, you're going to have the 2 best hitting outfielders in all of baseball on the same team, I think. I don't know who's going to be better. I mean, you could say Trout, but Trout's going to be on the downswing at some point soon, right? He's getting older.
Well, this year is a down year for him specifically. And Harris's on-base percentage isn't great. And honestly, my God, especially, you're not going to leave him in the 9 hole, but if he can get his on-base percentage up for the next, it is because his OPS is so high for the month. I mean, it's just having a guy on for Acuna because he bats technically in front of Acuna as the 9-hitter. But back to your point about Acuna, one thing I've loved watching about him, and I noticed this with his second home run off Ryan the other day against the Twins in that crazy first 2 innings. That he went so deep into that at bat, and I think he was behind early, but he went deep into that bat. He missed a real nice pitch at some point during, I don't remember where, and he just started fouling pitches off. And I think a pitch or 2 before he hit the home run, I was like, he's gonna hit a home run. Like he is setting Ryan. Like he's not purposely fouling the ball off or whatever, but I was like, if Ryan doesn't put him away or just walk him, because it was 3-2 at that point, I was like, Acuna is going to hit a home run on the next pitch he makes contact with and puts it fair. Like that, I could see it clear as day. Ronald was fucking zeroed and just waiting for a pitch he could fully square up and not just foul off or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, he looks as locked in as I've ever seen him. And hopefully, it also seems like he's becoming more of a team leader. Mm-hmm. And I guess it's easier to do that when you're having success and you're not struggling or you're not injured or whatever. But either way, it's part of his development. He's still only 25. My sincere desire is that somebody in the organization can do for Harris what Chipper Jones did for Austin Riley, which is kind of fix the approach. Now, Austin Riley's having a bit of a shit year so far. I mean, at least to his standard. But, in June, he had 271 with 4 home runs. In May, he had 271 with 5 home runs. Over the course of the season, that's you're hitting 270 with 30 home runs. That you can't really complain too much about that.
If that's a down year, I mean that's a career year for almost any major leaguer.
Yeah, and he's on pace. His RBI count is a little low. I still think I've done the data on this, that he's not hitting 4th. I know Matt Olson is doing well in the 4-hole right now,
exploding in the fucking 4-hole.
If you look across Austin Riley's entire career, 4 seasons of getting major league at bats, his OPS is like 130 points higher in the 4-hole than anywhere else.
What is it at 5? Because I don't know.
He's not hit much at 5.
Okay, I'm not necessarily inclined to move Matt Olson presently.
Yeah, I mean, do what works, I guess. But let's see. I don't know if he's ever hit 5th in meaningful at bats, because he hit 3rd pretty much exclusively. 5th is the only place he hasn't batted, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
But his career OPS, in the 4-hole is like 920, and it's 780 or something in the 3-hole, which is where he primarily is hit.
Who do you even put in the 3-hole though? Really?
I would put Olson there. to be honest, or Albies. I don't know that Albies is a. I mean,
he's done well lately, though. I mean, it's kind of like I don't know that I want to mess with the current success of the lineup.
Yeah, and if things don't always have to make sense. Some guys, sometimes it's just complementary rotations in your lineup, where it makes things more difficult on the opposing team, or the way the strategy adjusts because of the lineup you set, benefits your team more than theirs. But since they moved Albies to the 2-hole, he's hitting 280, hit 3 home runs and 12 RBI over the last 50 at bats or so. So that's a pretty good clip. 861 OPS.
Albies is damn near the lead in RBI and home runs for the National League.
Yeah.
I mean, he's again, it's the type of thing like we say. The rate stats, not quite ever there, but the counting stats are always there.
Yeah, but I mean, it depends on where he's hitting. Excuse me. And in the 5-hole, he hits 348. In the 3-hole, 286, but limited at bats. He could be a 3-hole guy. I mean, honestly, it's pick your poison in that lineup already.
Right.
So I don't know. I like Murphy in the 3-hole because
that's a great guy for the 3-hole.
If you're going right, left, right like that.
Or honestly, this is unconventional, but d'Arnaud.
When he's in the lineup, yeah, sure.
Yeah, why not?
He hits behind the runner really well.
Yeah,
which is important in that slot. So,
and that's why Freeman. I mean, Freeman eventually got moved to 2, but the reason Freeman even thrived in the 3-hole is obviously he has power, but it was not his home run power that made him thrive in the 3-hole. It was that he just hit so well with people on base. He hit so well situationally. And d'Arnaud is, to me, still, I think, our best situational hitter on the roster.
He might be, yeah. To be honest, every now and again, I think it might be, what's his nuts? God damn it, Arcia. Like, he's, in big moments, takes really good at bats. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if it's smartness or doesn't give a shit that the moment's big. It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
Like, Travis d'Arnaud is obviously thinking.
Yes.
Like, he's going the other way on pitches like that. But it seems like Arcia, he's almost like.
By the way, that d'Arnaud home run like a week or two ago, I don't think I've ever seen anyone hit a ball that far.
He doesn't look like a very big guy to me, but that ball was at 478. I think.
It was fucking insane.
Yeah, he hit. That's. I was cooking steaks or some shit in my kitchen, and Joel was there, and I heard. I wasn't watching the TV, but it was on, and I heard the sound, and I looked over. I'm like, holy shit, did you hear that? Well, he doesn't know what he's listening to. You know what I mean? He doesn't watch baseball or anything, but I heard it, and I'm like, oh, my God. I guess d'Arnaud's 6'2", 210 is what he's listed as. I'm surprised by that. He doesn't look that big.
No, and he's also, like, easily, no offense to Travis, because he might be my favorite, like, human being on the team, because he just cracks me up. Easily the least athletic body. Like physical human body of any Brave in the lineup.
I wouldn't. You know what I would like to see is Olsen and Murphy in a foot race. I'm not sure who would win that. I think Murphy would, but because he is a year or two younger, and Olsen is one of the slowest people I've ever seen. But yeah, he doesn't. He looks like a baseball player from the '70s. That's what Travis d'Arnaud looks like.
Yes, like Thurman Munson.
Yeah.
Just keep them away from a plane. But yeah, I would love to just see the catchers in the 3-hole. To be honest, like I think both Murphy and d'Arnaud are perfectly suited for that.
Yeah,
for different reasons. I mean, Murphy is also a very intelligent hitter. You expect a catcher typically to be a pretty intellectual hitter.
Sure. Yeah.
Considering their, obviously they know exactly what the strike zone is for that day, and they just tend to know pitching well in general. And d'Arnaud in particular has probably caught more pitchers than almost anyone in baseball at this point.
Quite a few. Yeah, I mean he's that's always been he's a decent thrower. He's got a good pop time actually, and a decent arm, but that's not what he's good at in catching. He's good at managing a pitching staff, framing, stuff like that. That's what makes him such a good catcher. And so it's not to your point, it's not really the physical attributes that make him really good. It is the approach, which I think in that position is probably a good fucking place to be. Right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, hitting between. I guess, Ozzie Albies and then the combination of Austin Riley and Matt Olson. You're bookended by Acuna, Albies, and Olson Riley.
Right.
You want a guy in there that's not going to give up at bats.
Yes.
More than anything else,
yes.
right? Like I would never put Ozuna in that situation because he will have a lot of counting stat success in that position, but when it's time for something to really happen, he's probably going to fuck it up.
That's one thing I loved about Freeman, and that was always my biggest worry about losing Freddie. And it's one thing I love about d'Arnaud and to a lesser extent Murphy is that like I just think there's nothing worse for a pitcher than in the middle of a stretch like that than an at bat that you know is going to be mentally exhausting.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like just a fucking bitch. Like at some point when you're in a sort of marathon like that, when you're just taking blow after blow, you would almost rather face someone who's like a 3 true outcome guy where it's like it's an A or you're going to get A or B, right?
Like if you make your pitches, you're going to strike the guy out, but if you miss by a little bit, he's going to crush you, but if I make my pitches, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Well, with Olson, that's how it is for sure.
Yep.
If you make your pitches, you can get him out.
Yep.
But also, he's on pace for 53 home runs right now, right? So people aren't making their pitches very well.
No. Well, and the thing too about that is, especially with Riley and Olson on the back half of that, is that so you've just faced maybe the most terrifying hitter in baseball to start off. Then you get a very, very good hitter who you can't fuck around with. Then you get this mentally fucking exhausting at bat, right? This fucking just grind of a batter you have to face. Okay, so now you're more tired, mentally certainly. Like that was just a lot taken out of you, which means you're more prone to make mistakes. And then who are the next two guys up? Two guys who fucking murder mistakes.
Yeah, there's just nowhere to hide in this lineup. And as good as they've been, there's still room for improvement. That's the crazy thing. I mean, when some of these guys start getting, when Fried comes back for sure, it looks like we'll get to it in a minute, but it looks like Soroka might be back tomorrow to start games again. Mm-hmm. And then, if Kyle Wright comes back with any kind of quality, I don't know what condition his shoulder's in at this point. I would rather, honestly, take your time on that because Colby Allard pitched yesterday. He looked great.
Yep.
We've kind of known he was going to be really good for some time. He's had just rough seasons and injuries.
He had a spot start for the Braves in 19 or 20, didn't he?
18, 19, or 20, something in that time frame. Yeah, and we traded him to the Rangers for Odorizzi, and then we traded him back for Chris. We traded Chris Martin to get him back.
Right.
And then he's been hurt for like 3 years or some shit.
But he was a relatively high prospect in our organization at one time.
Yeah, he's kind of like Arcia in that he's now in his mid to late 20s. Well, I guess he's still only 25, but he's in his mid 20s now. But when he was in his early 20s, he was like a top tier prospect. So, good on the club for bringing that guy up too, I guess. And then there's the real question I have, and it's something I've been talking about for about a month or two now. You have long-term contracts at first base, at second base, at third base, at right field, at center field, right? Mm-hmm. And you have a long-term contract at catcher as well. Not the backup, but Murphy has a long-term contract. At what point so there's this Joe Dunnan. Do you know who that is? He's a third baseman in the organization. Okay. He's actually playing first base in Gwinnett right now. His OPS is over 1,000 for the year. And it's like, we don't need a first or a third baseman anytime soon. No. Now, DH maybe, who knows? But I feel like DHs are pretty easy to come by these days. Yeah. Although league-wide DHs are performing very poorly this year.
I don't think there was. It's almost DH is almost like quarterbacks in the NFL. I don't think there were 30 DHs.
No.
You know what I mean?
Well, there's not. I don't think there's 30 people that are that good of hitters who also suck in the field.
Yeah.
But DHs, ESPN ran an article about it last week. DHs are hitting like 225 this year or some shit league-wide, which is fucking terrible.
There weren't, back in the day, when it was just the American League, you basically had the 15 best. You had the 15 guys who could do that. You know what I mean? And then maybe you would get like a random, like I remember when we had Evan Gattis and Brian McCann. I was like, man, I wish we had a DH. I wish we had the DH just because like then we can put Gattis in at DH or just switch them out back and forth. But typically, you just don't have those guys on your team in the old National League. So that doesn't surprise me, actually, that the DH is suck. Because honestly, a lot of them are just bench guys that you now have to play every day, which is still better, by the way. 225 is better than a pitcher.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Definitely better than a pitcher. And I'm sure the OPS is way higher than a pitcher would be as well. But there's guys down in the farm. He's one of them. Chad Pender is one of them. He's a, let's see, how old is this guy? He was born in 92, so he's like 30 years old, I guess, 31. And he's got like an 800 OPS. He's stolen a lot of bases down there, and he's just playing in AAA for some reason. I mean, and then there's the pitching in Gwinnett as well, which is like, I know we want to bring Soroka up, but once I'm very curious what's going to happen, because there are only 5 rotation spots.
Right.
And presumably we want to re-sign Max Fried. Presumably,
at this point, you would think, based on the long-term contracts they give everyone else, that they have money to spend, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit. They have money to spend, and they're going to write a big check at some point.
Yeah, presumably Fried will get a 6-year deal, I'm guessing. I think it'll probably be a 6-year deal, probably a 5-year deal with 2 club options or two mutual options or something like that, so technically a 7-year deal.
I don't mind signing a guy like him to that long of a contract. Yeah, I think he's intelligent and talented, and he's not just hucking the ball. You know what I mean? Like he honestly, he's kind of like a left-handed Charlie Morton who just figured it out way earlier than Charlie Morton did.
Yeah, he'll be effective as his velocity decreases, because that's not that big a part of his game. But presumably Fried will stick around. Morton will probably leave after this year, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
But forget about that. Fried, Strider, Elder, and Soroka. I mean, if he pitches anything, it seems like he's got his command back. We'll see when he gets to the major league level. He doesn't seem like the kind of guy that would get the yips, because he's Canadian and a little retarded, to be honest. He's not dumb. He's a smart guy, but he's just like, oh, fuck it.
He always has like a quizzical look on his face.
Yeah, he's that kind of guy. And then that's 4 long-term rotation spots locked in. So at what point are you looking at trying to flip Dylan Dodd or Jared Schuster or some of these other guys to somewhere else and get something for him, man? Because
I think there's a certain amount of hesitance on Anthopoulos' part, just because that's kind of been the underrated narrative of the Braves the last 3 years. The COVID season, 21, 22, and now so 4 years really is never count on your rotation staying healthy. The depth we've used the COVID year, Ian Anderson was a nobody. Called up, and then we didn't even have a third starter in the playoffs. It was Kyle Wright, kind of. I mean, the dudes that we were running out in the 2020 playoffs behind Fried and Anderson were absurd. And then in 2021, same fucking thing. Like, some guy made his first career start in the World Series. I forget who it was, and then Kyle Wright came in, because he was the opener, and then Kyle Wright came in right after, and Kyle Wright had not done anything to that point either. And then, last year, same situation with Elder and shit, and a couple other guys filling in the back half. And then this year, we've had the back 2 spots in the rotation have been ridiculous. And honestly, even in 2019, Fried was a rookie and Soroka was a rookie.
Yep. Yeah, certainly all of that is true. But Strider, Elder, Fried, Soroka, Kyle Wright. It's like, yeah, you want to have maybe you keep a Colby, maybe you keep 1 or 2 of these guys, but they have like four dudes that are major league ready starting pitchers right now.
And by the way, Ian Anderson's just on the IL with TJ,
and so is
Huascar
Noah, right?
Yeah.
So it's like those guys are both. At this point, they've all had surgery, so they're a year or less away from coming back and pitching. So it's like
I wouldn't discount Ian Anderson being in the major league rotation within a year or 2 again.
Yeah.
Like, really, like he kind of lost it, but when he was good, he was very, very good.
I mean, you could say the same thing about a Noah. He tried to when he came back from that hand injury, you could tell he wasn't right. I think he probably just having your routine disrupted like that probably fucked him up.
Yeah.
And caused this arm injury. But leading up to that point, leading up to the point where he fucking punched a wall and fucked his hand up. He was just killing it. And he's also he'll be 26 next year when the season starts. I'm sorry, he'll be 25 when the season starts. He'll be 26 mid-season next year. It's like, at some point, I understand making sure you have backups. 2 is 1, 1 is none. I got it, man. But we're in dynasty mode now.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's like every time that you can, and AA is really good at this, so I am expecting him to do some stuff. Every time you can flip something that you're not going to be able to hold on to long term into win now stuff, like you have to do it from time to time. You just have to, right? There's no way of getting around it. Otherwise, it's so competitive in the playoffs and anything can happen. You can't afford to not do shit.
Well, and also, I would say it will probably be difficult to flip. Certainly Anoa, maybe Anderson. But Ian Anderson has a proven track record. So it might be the type of situation where they make a trade and you do see Dodd and Schuster, and maybe even Colby Allard move. And then they rely on kind of the slightly older guys who were at one point injured for depth. But
you named 3 lefties and 2 righties, right? So probably we want to keep at least one of each.
True. Well, and there's also Smith-Shawver, too. I mean, fuck.
Yeah. He got sent down, by the way, not for performance. They just had to make room for – he might be back next week sometime. Who knows?
I mean, Jesus, the depth here is insane.
Yeah, he had one bad game. So, yeah, and then there's another couple of guys, like Darius something or other he's hurt right now, but he's in AAA and has had success at every level. He's major league ready right now as well. It's just it's fucking ridiculous.
And I have to assume it's funny because we have so much of our fielders, our batters locked up that we've got. I didn't look, but I have to imagine we're drafting a lot of pitchers, right, to keep that depth in place.
I would imagine so. I mean, we're naming 6 or 7 major league ready starters right now,
right,
that aren't on the major league roster. So, yeah, it's certainly not bad.
That's that's just something you can literally never have enough of. So it's interesting. Real quick before we keep going, got our sponsor, MyBookie. Go to mybookie.com and use the promo code Drinking Bros to double your first deposit up to $1,000. So if you put in $1,000, they will give you a free $1,000. If you put in $20, give you a free $20. Whatever you got, whatever you have to spare, they will double up for you if you use the promo code Drinking Bros. We love betting on baseball. Actually, Daniel hit a little mini parlay last night, like a 3-4 team parlay. What was it?
It was 2 nights ago.
2 nights ago?
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, you won like $400 or $500 or something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, good for you. Happy for you. Did you put it in today? Again, did you do it today? I haven't done one.
Yeah, I did another one today. What'd
you do? Was the Yankees?
Yankees, Mets, and Angels.
Okay.
So as this is live, you'll know if that won.
You can do that at mybookie.com. Use the promo code Drinking Bros. There's some news that I got recently about the Braves that I was kind of surprised by, and that is that their defense used to suck this year.
Well, certainly when Vaughn Grissom was shortstop, it was terrible.
Yeah. Well, I know. I expect that it sucks in places like left field all the time, unless Pilar or Hilliard's there, which is not often. And then obviously, when Vaughn Grissom was at short. But what I didn't realize,
or when Harris was not playing center, I'm sure that had something to do with just because of his range factor and his ability to throw.
100%.
You're getting wins right there.
Yeah, and I know. I guess Acuna. It's never a talent issue with him. It's just brain farts, essentially. Like the other day, actually, when we beat the Twins when Elder was pitching, I think it was in the home run game when we hit a bunch of home runs. I was about to lose my fucking mind on that Little League sequence we had. Were you watching that game?
Yeah.
And what pissed me off the most, though, and it all pissed me off, but what pissed me off the most, though, is I think it was Murphy throws to second to try to get the advancing runner after 2 other dudes didn't catch the ball. Airs it past Albies and into the outfield, and guess who's nowhere to be fucking found?
Yeah.
Like, that ball got most of the way to the wall because Acuna wasn't watching the play, I guess. Like, I don't know what the fuck was going on. And neither was Harris, by the way.
Yeah.
Both of those dudes were just like standing there. So I get that there's brain farts and stuff like that, but what I didn't realize, according to the SB Nation site for the Braves, batterypower.com, they kind of looked into it. In April and May, the Braves were negative 15 outs above average, which was the worst defense in Major League Baseball. This month, for whatever reason, in June, and one of the many reasons we've crushed it in June, the Braves are +8 just in the month alone for outs above average, which is third best in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
I haven't really noticed like a crazy change in shit.
I haven't either. I don't know how they calculate this stuff. I mean, it's certainly we had a lot of errors early in the season, mostly Vaughn Grissom, actually. But
yeah, if I did the math, I subtracted. Vaughn Grissom has 6 errors. If you take away those 6, we would move from 6th in baseball in errors to 13th. So we'd be about middle of the road if you just removed Vaughn Grissom.
That makes sense. Yeah, because he made like over the course of a week and a half, I think he had like 4 errors that were just mostly routine plays too. And that's another guy to talk about. I just don't see any point in keeping him in our system unless he's going to play the outfield, left field or something, because he's not going to play either of the corners. I don't think he can play shortstop.
He cannot play shortstop.
He just doesn't have the hands. Like that's just like
and also Shoemaker is right there.
Yeah.
Also, he just hit for the cycle last night or the other day, I believe, at Gwinnett.
But Grissom he's a good hitter. Like he's a major league hitter right now. It just sucks. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be upset if they launched no matter what his success is, launched Ozuna into the fucking stratosphere, and then made Vaughn Grissom, one of the DH rotational guys because he hits well. He's actually not. During the early part of the year, he was doing some pretty good situational hitting behind the runner and stuff like that as well. But, yeah, as far as the defense goes, I think what probably changed is Harrison center, his range factor and his ability to throw people out and stuff like that. That's probably a big part of it.
I mean, he was certainly not there for a decent chunk of April and May. Yeah. And that alone probably cut into the outs above average or whatever.
100% it did. And then having a shortstop like fucking Arcia makes every play.
Yeah,
he's let's see what his feel. I think he's got like 1 error. No, he's got 0 errors this year.
Sweet.
I'm sorry, he's got 5. Sorry, I was reading the wrong line. His fielding percentage is 98. That's not bad. Yeah, it's a lot better than what Vaughn Grissom was doing. And
I also don't think Vaughn Grissom had like great range either. As far as
no, he did not have great range, and he's got a decent arm, but like Arcia's got a fucking hose.
Oh yeah,
he really throws the ball well.
Oh yeah, that fucking play the other day where Ozzie scooped it to him because he couldn't turn around and make the throw, and Arcia just spun around. That was heat.
Yeah, yeah, and let's see. Harris so far in 58 games has .4 defensive WAR. So that's like you're looking at like the same from last year, about 1.3 defensive WAR over the course of a season. Range factor is 229. I mean, he's fucking good.
I guess that makes sense that it was shitty because our two of our 3 starting up the middle dudes were out. Right,
premium defensive positions.
Right.
For sure,
I mean, and what's funny is that we still had Murphy, who is I think he's grading out as the best defensive catcher in baseball this year.
He's got to be. I don't know who else would be in front of him.
Real Muto would be the only one off the top of my head.
Maybe, yeah, he's pretty legit.
But yeah, I mean, if you're missing your shortstop and center fielder, both of whom are excellent defensively, the latter being maybe the best in baseball defensively, I suppose that'll affect the defense. I mean, we do have a lot of errors, though. Like I said, we rank 6th, I think, in errors in baseball, and yeah, so that is what it is. I kind of looked at the rest of the numbers just in terms of like put outs and assists and stuff like that, and we're kind of just floating around the middle or whatever. But one thing I will say that's always weird to me with defensive statistics is sometimes you'll have a team and they'll tell you it's bad defensively, and you'll be like, well, I don't really get it because I see these guys. Like, I would understand if – I'm not even trying to shit on the Phillies, but I would understand if I've got, like, the Phillies people in the field, right? If I've got Schwarber in left and, just a Trey Turner's great, but otherwise, like, just a lot of dudes who are just kind of klutzes. I wouldn't even bother arguing. I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. But, like, it always confuses me. I'm like, is it range when I see these guys? It's like, because their hands are good, their arms are strong. I was like, is it just something that I can't pick up on the television, like range, basically?
Yeah.
Because they look smooth. You can't see a guy track a ball all the way and shit like that when you're watching on TV. But you can see when roughly around the time they're handling it, the camera cuts to them, and you can see, like, okay, they look smooth, they look natural, they look like they know what they're doing. There's nothing clumsy or rigid about this. And that's what I see with the Braves, even when they were allegedly having bad defensive times. It's like, I don't really see anyone out here, with the exception of Rosario, and Grissom, who I would look at and be like, yeah, there's just not, they don't look right. Even Riley, who is the doofiest body-wise of all the dudes, still I feel like is kind of slick.
He's got pretty good hands, yeah.
Even if it looks, he's kind of like Chipper, right, where he's well-practiced. It doesn't necessarily look like he's doing it naturally, but he's well-practiced and can, like, just do what needs to be done.
He's a bit of an oaf, I guess. Yeah. But he's got really good hands, especially after years of working with Wash. But, yeah, I think – I mean, if I had to guess, I'm sure you could look into advanced stats and figure it out, but I bet during that period where Grissom was at short and Harris was out of center field, or the overlap, not just the overlaps, but that total period of time, I bet some of the key stats even in AX, but also in defensive run saved and defensive WAR, range factor is a big part of it.
Mm-hmm. Huge part.
So, and those... That's probably aside from just the errors, that's probably because I don't think Hilliard or anybody made a bunch of errors in center field.
Hilliard and Pilar are both really sturdy fielders.
But I bet it's just the range, because Hilliard and Pilar are fast and they're good outfielders, but Michael Harris is different. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's like one of the best I've ever seen doing that. So if I had to guess, that's probably what it is.
Michael Harris, Hilliard is a great defender, but it's sort of the difference between, like, having maybe like Travis Kelce out there versus just, like, I don't know, Jalen Ramsey,
Mark
like an
Andrews
elite cornerback. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
I see what you're saying, yeah.
Because, like, Hilliard is built like a tight end. Like, literally, he's fucking huge.
He's a big dude.
But he moves. He's got a great sprint speed and stuff like that. But there's just something about Harris where you just have that. He just glides in a way, and the speed is insane.
Yeah, that dude's fucking legit.
Yeah. Harris to me is actually, I think I've said this before, reminds me of Michael Bourne a lot. But a much better hitter than Bourne.
Way better, but definitely, better power for sure.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, Michael Bourne was a 280, 285 hitter.
Stole a lot of bases. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Harris has the power that Bourne certainly did not. But defensively, I think they're extremely similar. But yeah, I just, that stood out to me. And again, I didn't expect at any point for the Braves to be the best defensive team in baseball. I still don't. But I was like, fuck, like, dead last. That is shocking to me.
Yeah.
But we're not anymore.
Yeah.
So that's great. Last but not least, I saw this the other day. Your buddy Gary Sheffield Jr. mentioned it. However, I have seen this floated around quite a bit in other corners. So I just want to talk about it. I've seen us mentioned as dark horses for Otani as a free agent. I said earlier that I think we have that at some point we're going to write a check. I don't think the probability's high. I certainly think it'd be plus money on mybookie.com, promo code Drinking Bros, but I don't think the odds would be insane. So what do you think? Like a 5-1, like a 20% chance, 10% chance, 10-1. I just, how many teams do you think will be in on him?
The Mets will try. I think they'll let Scherzer or Verlander or both expire.
I think the Mets are going to trade Scherzer this year.
They might, yeah.
He said he'd waive a no-trade clause. He knows the sunset's here. He's not dumb. He's still being effective. He wants to go fucking be on another winner.
Yeah, I could see that. The Mets, I don't think – well, it's not just a matter of who from the team side would do it. It's who's Otani going to go to? Because the word on the street is he wants to win. Because if he just wanted to sign this $500 million contract with the Angels. Like, they've done 2 of them already.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they, not that to that level, but they did a long-term massive contract with Pujols.
Mm-hmm.
Then they did it right over again with Trout, right? So clearly they don't have an issue doing that, and it would save them a lot of embarrassment to be able to re-sign him.
Right.
But it seems like he doesn't want to stay there.
Well, it's lucky for them that they're winning now.
Yeah, I mean, certainly. Well, maybe not, right? Like, I do wonder what's going to happen in Anaheim if they're gonna hold on to him just to save the embarrassment of not having traded the best player ever.
Well, they're not going to trade him, right, at this point, because they're fucking contending.
Why? Like, seriously, the haul that you could get back for him, if he were traded to a team that he intended to sign with, especially, right, that would be the thing.
Yeah.
So the team would have to give up the amount of assets you would need to trade to get him. They would have to be like one close to Major League ready, probably, and a lot of them.
Oh yeah.
Which
fucking roster of them.
Yeah, but man, I don't know. But the alternative is they do nothing right now. They finish in 3rd place in the American League West, and they lose the best player of all time and get nothing for him, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, it's.
But well, I mean, here's the thing though. They punched their ticket. They're in the playoffs right now.
Barely. And they're not. I don't think they will stay.
What do you think that? I mean, they could be making moves too, I suppose. You know what I mean, to try and beef it up, and because part of they can't pitch Ohtani with a straight face.
Wait, they're out.
They're not in the playoffs.
They're
sorry.
just out.
Yeah, they're half.
I mean, they're a half game out, so it's not that far away.
Yeah,
but
I don't think they can speak to Otani with a straight face about winning if they don't make moves to try to win this year when they're in a position to do it.
I mean, teams have done that before in what do you call it? In mediocre or so years when they're trying to hang on to a star player, they'll make some moves to assure them that they're going to fucking compete.
Committed to.
I think it's done between Ohtani and the Angels. Honestly, I don't think that relationship could be salvaged. But when you look at the teams that both have the payroll too, and then the kind of teams that spend that kind of money, there aren't many of them. I mean, the Braves are spending the most money they've ever spent before, and the deal between Atlanta's franchise and Liberty Media is that they can spend whatever money they make. Now, luckily, it's been a couple of fucking bearish or bullish years, rather.
The battery is printing money, and the thing with Ohtani is, for me, always is you're gonna. I mean, if you put that guy in your stadium, 81 games a year, I feel like you're gonna get your ROI on that.
The highest paid player in baseball right now is Max Scherzer. And
per year.
It's a stupid fucking deal.
Yeah,
it's $58 million.
Yeah.
Right? But it was part of a backloaded long-term deal. And then second is Verlander at 43.3. So, and then I looked down the list of Major League Baseball payrolls. Forget about the Mets because they're almost $100 million in front of anybody else.
Yeah.
But the Yankees are at 277. The Padres are about 250. The Phillies are about 245. Dodgers at 222. Angels at 212. Toronto at 209. And the Braves come in at 203. With Morton coming off the books, that's 20 mil, so you're down to 180. You can give him 60 mil a year, and it'll be a 243 million. All things else staying the same.
And you can sort of justify that by being like, actually, we're paying 2 players 30 mil a year.
100%, yeah. So then you're talking about, Fried, Ohtani, Strider, and then, you've got some other assets that you can trade to rebuild. Like the farm team, typically when you bring in a star player like that, is going to struggle for one reason or another. But you would literally have the assets left over to trade away to rebuild your entire farm system at that point. For me, it is a no-lose situation for the Braves. You have to make that deal if you can. I'm not sure what's going to happen, though, to be honest.
Yeah. It's just interesting to me. And by the way, man, the Angels, I know they've started to make little moves. Okay. They've added, and this is going to sound dumb, but I don't care because I did like the move. They added Mike Moustakas, who I think has gas left in the tank.
Yeah, I mean, his home run to a bat ratio is pretty good.
That's what he's there for. Like, it's kind of like when we signed Soler, right? Like, it's you're buying low on a big bat who they thought is a better hitter than he's showing right now. I totally fucking agree with that logic. They're starting to make tweaks. They're starting to make moves. They need another pitcher. The rest of that rotation is fucking grim. Like, it's bad. Like, Sandoval and Detmers as your 2 and 3 is fucking terrible, and then Anderson and Griffin Canning. I mean, like, fuck. It's a bad rotation. I don't know how they're doing as well as they're doing right now, even, to be honest. Aside from the fact that Shoei Ohtani, I mean, Hunter Renfroe's having a nice year, and Trout's down though. I mean, Trout's still having a good year for a human being, but not necessarily for Mike Trout. And then Rendon, who was supposed to be their other big signing, is a dead person.
Brandon Drury is still playing well. I like him. He's a good player. He came from he's bounced all over, but he was in Cincinnati a couple of years ago, and then he went to San Diego mid-season, I think.
Yeah.
He's having a pretty good season too, but it's kind of a fucking mix match lineup and rotation. I just don't like. When you look around the league, when you look at teams like even Houston, who's been up and down a little bit this year, but teams like
they've been riddled with injuries.
Yeah, the Texas amount of fucking firepower in that offense. When you look at Tampa Bay and how well rounded of a team they are, how well they play together and stuff, and in the National League, the Braves and the fucking Diamondbacks and even the Dodgers right now. What you have to think to yourself as a GM, what can I do to this team to make them competitive against all these teams that I've mentioned, all the other teams except for Texas, who has like one of the best offenses of baseball. They all have 3 fucking premier starters on their team, right?
Yeah.
At least 3, if not more, and then have solid bullpens as well.
God knows Texas tried.
Yeah, they certainly tried, but that I could have warned you about
Jacob DeGrom. Yeah.
But yeah, it's like Tampa Bay. McClanahan's out right now, but he'll be back. It's just inflammation with him or something. But Tampa Bay, good rotation, good bullpen, good closer. Same with the Braves, same with the Dodgers, same with the fucking Diamondbacks. It's like you're just not. There's nothing you can do to this Angels team that's going to make them. And look, punch your ticket, and who knows what could happen, right? But like it's not just about winning. Well, it's about the perception that Otani has for the ability to win.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's funny though, like even a lot of those quote unquote like punch your ticket teams, a lot more loaded than they get credit for being because their record was shitty that year. Obviously the sort of quintessential punch your ticket team is that 06 Cardinals team who was one game over 500. Yeah. But that team was hurt all year and removed from 200. They won 100 games back-to-back the 2 years before that, and an NL pennant was in the NLCS the other year. So they were in the NLCS 3 years in a row, won the World Series third year. That's not quite a shitty team, right? That's a circumstance of that year. Same with the Cardinals of 2011. Punch your ticket. Like that team was loaded. They just kind of farted their way through half the year, then got it together at the end. And then the Braves in 21. That was an absolute punch your ticket team. But at the same time, that team was a lot more loaded than an 88-win team should have been, right? Yeah. Like there were injuries, there were all this shit. The record was not representative of the quality of the team. You could probably say the same with that first Giants team that won the World Series.
2009.
10,
yeah. That's right, yeah, even years. Yeah, probably so, yeah. And it's
and that's what I say. I look at this Angels roster, and I'm just like, what do you do well?
Yeah. They don't score a lot of runs comparatively. Well, I guess it depends on what you mean by comparatively, but they're probably like 7th in the league in runs scored. That's not bad, but it's not like you're crushing it. And they, they've given up 50 more runs than the Braves have, for example. That's a lot.
Do they even have a positive run differential?
Yeah, they're plus 38.
Okay.
Yeah. So that part's good, but they don't play well on the road. And I don't know, man. I don't see what they do well is have the best player in baseball.
Right.
Right. But this isn't the NBA. You can't LeBron James your way through the Major League Baseball playoffs. It doesn't work like that.
No.
So we'll see. Look, I think you were right. You said something like 2 months ago that the Angels will probably hold on to him because nobody wants to be known as the fucking asshole who traded the best player ever. Because there's one asshole that did it previously, and it was the fucking curse of the Bambino for the next 100 years.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like literally 100 years. So you don't want to fuck around like that.
No.
It might just be bad juju to fucking trade Ohtani. You just got to eat it and do what you want. But it would be, I think, if I own this team and my general manager lets the best player ever probably get away without getting anything in return for it, that person's got to go.
Yeah, it is.
But what choice do you have? I mean, it's a fucking shitty situation.
It's not good for them either way. I guess just win the World Series this year.
Yeah, good fucking luck. I mean, maybe they can pick up Scherzer and Ohtani at the top of rotation. Maybe. I still don't think they could win though.
I mean, but why the fuck not? You know, give it a shot. And honestly, at this point, Scherzer's 1 year, right?
Yep.
So fuck it. It's 1 year, and at this point, it's prorated, so you're only paying half of it. Mm-hmm. Why the fuck not?
I think that would be a smart move on their part.
They better buy. I mean, it doesn't even matter. Look, don't give up your best prospect or anything, but you need to be fucking buying.
Yeah, they got to do something. They got to do something. Otherwise, that franchise is going to be fucked for another 20 years.
Yeah, it's not. They might as well sell Trout at that point. If they lose Ohtani, they might as well trade Trout.
Yeah.
I don't know what else you do at that point. It is what it is. But that's all I got for today, talking about Braves baseball and I guess Angels baseball for about 15 minutes. For Dan Holloway, I'm Rob Fox. We'll see you.